you can come back for a second here for that. But
yeah.
Let's hop right into today's topic. Are you getting her best? Rollo, you got some talking points. What did you want to start on?
Yeah, I did. And the reason I wanted to get into this is actually this is a topic I've wanted to talk about for quite some time. Actually, I don't think we have ever really. I mean, certainly not on this show. We've ever adequately covered the dynamic of alpha widows, and we're talking about women who end up pining for a previous lover, okay, who end up with, usually, if you've read my second book, which is Prevent Innocent, I sort of lay out a timeline there as to what men can expect from women at different phases of maturity. So like the things that an 18 to 23-year-old woman is going to prioritize as her most important when it comes to like her sexual strategy is going to be different than what a woman in her, say, her epiphany phase, which is, I peg that at about 29 to 31, is going to prioritize. So suddenly all the, the hot alpha sex in her party years becomes less important when she's looking to secure somebody who is a long-term provision or a long-term beta kind of guy. And I'm using these terms, alpha and beta, as just abstracts. Okay, I'm not saying one is bad, one is good. I'm just saying that that's what they're looking for. When we look at what hypergamy does for women, it's alpha fucks and beta bucks. So we're gonna proceed from that assumption here. And so when women get to different phases of their maturity, they want to prioritize things. Like things become a little more important and some things become less important. So when you're dealing with a woman who's, say, 22 years old and she's at her sexual market value peak, she's looking primarily for the alpha fuck side of things, whereas generally speaking. And then when she gets to be about 29 to 31, she's looking for somebody who has long-term provisioning capacity. And so maybe what she wants to do is sort of it's not to say that alpha fucks aren't important to a woman in her alpha or in her epiphany phase, but she's also looking for a guy who has long-term prospects. This is one reason why women always look for a guy generally look for a guy who is older than them, is making more money than them, is a better as far as like sexual market value is concerned, is a step above them. I've always said that hypergamy never seeks its own level. And so what I'm seeing right now is a lot of guys who get to that point, who they play through the beta role, they play what I call the beta in waiting, and they get to be about 30 years old, and they're starting to see some return on their very long-term investment, because it takes longer for men to establish themselves as men. Mm-hmm. So when a guy stays blue pill, when a guy is beta and decides that he's going to work on himself and he's just going to, he's going to keep his head down and play the beta game. And hopefully, his ship will come in when he gets to be about 30. And sure enough, that's usually what happens, because women in their epiphany phase are looking for guys who have established themselves, who may who are still ignorant of the game, but they look good as long-term prospects. These are the guys.
If I can put some legs to this real quick, I'm 30 years old now, and all the guys I went to high school with are now my age too, 30, 31.
Are they married?
Well, basically they're dropping like flies. If you watch left and right, they're getting poached off by women that we went to high school with, or women even that we didn't go to high school with, but are of the exact same age. So it's a phenomena that isn't just, your abstraction of it. Like, I'm seeing it in real life.
Yeah. And you are actually, Anthony, I'm glad you're on, because you are in the exact demographic of what I'm talking about here.
Yep.
And so what happens is these guys end up with, they think that their ship has come in. They think that the girls who have kind of like the girls they wanted to get with during their 20s are finally starting to pay attention to them, but they don't realize it's not because they think that they're, awesome and they really want to get with them. It's because they are long-term prospects. They have something that a woman needs. Women become much more necessitous when they get into their epiphany phase. And so just to clarify terms here, what I call the epiphany phase is when women are kind of cashing out of the sexual marketplace. Okay, so they go through what I call the party years, which is could be 18, I suppose, 18 through about 26 to 27. And then they get to a point where they kind of say, okay, I can't keep this up. I can't compete on the same level that I could before. So when a woman is at her sexual market value peak, right around 22, 23 years old, she's at her market value, that's when she's wanted the most. And this is also backed up too by a lot of statistics. If you look at, I think Carl can probably back this up too with gendernomics, in the OkCupid data, men of all ages from like 15 or 18 all the way up to like 80 all prefer a woman who is between the ages of, say, 22 and 24 years old. It doesn't change. It's always that same demographic. Whereas for women, they're always looking for a guy who is between 5 to 7 years older than them. And that, of course, is because of hypergamy. Hypergamy can't afford to have an untested commodity or an unsure thing. They want certainty in that security that's going to be there. They want certainty in that they've chosen the best alpha fucks and beta bucks. And so that continues throughout life. So if you got a woman who's like 35 years old, she's looking for a guy who's like, say, 40 to 42 years old, somewhere around there, because that guy is what she perceives as being a higher value male than the guys who are younger. She's not looking for, if she's looking for a younger, if you're talking about like the cougar dynamic, she's looking for guys in that demographic simply because she's looking for sex. She wants to get back to the sex that she used to get when she was in her 20s. So the epiphany phase is when women have gone through their party years, they've had their fun, and they're trying to cash out of the sexual marketplace. And this is the time, and I peg this at between like 29 and 31 years old, where women say they want to get right with God. They want to, if they're religious,
they want to get right with life, right?
They want to get right with life. They want to start.
Let me just hijack this rant, Rollo, because
go ahead.
Hear kind of like a story experience. I got
Please do.
Yeah, because like this will tie into exactly what you're talking about and take it from where Anthony kind of like left off. Because let's use my friend. His name is, we'll call him Dick. Okay, Dick was about 33 years old. Meets a girl, thinks that, she's the cat's meow. She's perfect wife type mommy material, does the courting. While he's courting the girl, she's got one foot in her old life. She's going out a couple times a week. She's partying. She's dancing on the bar. She's hooking up with guys. And then she's got her other foot in her new life where she's trying to reel in the beta for provisioning for marriage and stuff. The courting goes on for a few years. They get married. It doesn't work out after a couple of years from that. Simply, you could go far down a rabbit hole on this, but really she was acting, and he was believing the act that was sold to him, that things would be, just till death do us part, and I do, and everything would work out if you just, comply with what you've been told to do. So that's where Dick ended up. So that kind of ties in where Anthony's, what Anthony's seeing right now, and what Rollo's talking about. It's an interesting dynamic, but are you getting her best? Are you really?
Exactly. And I have this, probably the single most popular, I can say it's the most popular, but it's certainly up there. I've got a great post called Saving the Best. And there is a common misconception amongst beta guys who get to be right about 30, 33 years old. And they think that their ship has come in, and they think that women are finally paying attention to them because they are sexually attractive, or they believe in the lie. They believe in the Sandberg lie that nothing is sexier than a guy who has got his shit together at 33 years old. And she's not necessarily lying in that sense. Women really want that guy, but it's not that he's sexy. It's that he represents a much better long-term prospect than the alpha bad boys that woman has been, that Sheryl Sandberg has been encouraging women to date throughout most of their party years. So
she literally puts the dual edge strategy.
Exactly. And that's, I love it. Cause when people
it's a very schizophrenic strategy as you describe it, right, Rollo?
Yeah. That's why I do, because it's interesting to me that a woman like Sheryl Sandberg, who is, what an archetypal, quote unquote alpha female, although we've discussed that before, but represents at least to like Forbes or Fortune magazine, an alpha woman, or somebody who is, that people ought to listen to. And she's giving advice that is basically hypergamy. It is date the bad boys, date the commitment phobic boys, And by date, she means like fuck them when you're in your youth. And
Actually,
then,
listen,
and then
I've actually
cash
got
out.
it here. I've got it here.
Okay.
Just so everyone has a point of reference. It says, and this is just so poetic. It says, quote, when looking for a life partner, my advice to women is date all of them. The bad boys, the cool boys, the commitment phobic boys, the crazy boys, but do not marry them. The things that make bad boys sexy do not make them good husbands. When it comes time to settle down, find someone who wants an equal partner, someone who thinks women should be smart, opinionated, and ambitious, someone who values fairness and expects, or even better, wants to do his share in the home. These men exist, and trust me, over time, nothing is sexier. This is hypergamy personified. That's it.
Can I just pass it off to Carl because he shared an interesting story in the pre-show?
Sure.
Oh yeah, that story. Yeah, there was this
ties in
girl
nicely.
I've been sleeping with, and we've been kind of going off and on for a couple of months now. And I was supposed to link up with her in a couple of weeks, and I just got a text this morning, and it reads, and I'll actually read it to you verbatim here.
Did you bang her?
Yeah, repeatedly, but that's not the point.
Just want to make sure.
Put a baby in her.
Yeah. My name. I'm going to have to cancel our date in 2 weeks. A former boyfriend of mine got in touch, and we're going to see if we can get back together again. And I think it's kind of wrong of me to sleep around, regardless of how much fun it is.
listen, real quick. What she told you, listen, she's been fucking the boy. See, here's the thing. What guys don't understand.
She's been fucking both of you.
Yes, exactly. Like, you learn so much about women when they cheat on you, but you learn more about them when you are the guy she cheats with. This is it.
Mm-hmm.
They're both
recently
brutal.
Fucking both of you, man. Yeah.
So, I mean, just to sort of corral this back, I think that there's two issues going on here. One of the reasons I wanted to talk about this is because, you know, I read a tweet by a certain purple pill blog, quote unquote blogger, but a certain purple pill life coach, Pat Stedman,
all right.
basically condemning guys for unethical players for ruining women in their party years. So now that we've established what hypergamy is, okay, now that we have established that the Sandbergian plan for hypergamy is to date the bad boys and to have sex as much as possible with the you know, undoubtedly sexy bad boys for, you know, their party years, and then to cash out at the last minute before they are unable to compete in the sexual marketplace anymore. So now we've got this admission of what female sexual strategy really is, but yet we are supposed to feel bad for facilitating that. Okay. And I think that really there's a couple of things going on here. It's basically saying that, you know, unethical players need to rein that shit in, kind of thing, because or at least rein it in with the quote unquote good girls. And that was another part I wanted to talk about.
What is the definition of a purple pill coach unethical player? Like, yeah,
exactly.
What are they pointing at exactly?
Well, and the thing is like and it was probably one of the most ignorant statements I've heard in a long time, but it was indicative of a guy whose mindset is still locked into that blue pill idealism. Yes. It's a blue pill idealism to say, well, one woman is quality and one woman is not quality. No, women are women. Simple as that. Okay. And women are going to go and they're going to follow their sexual strategies, regardless of whether you think that they should be in Bible study or you're meeting them in the club. Okay.
Are
they're
these
following
guys
the same
suggesting
dynamic.
that men are ruining these women because they're dating them in this fashion?
Yes. And that's that was the other part of it. So
they're pointing at us going, you guys shouldn't spin plates. You guys shouldn't let go of women if they have
because when women get to that point, when they get to that epiphany phase, when they're trying to say, you know what, I've learned my lesson and I don't want to deal with the bad boys anymore. I want a nice stable guy who's got a job and you know is taking care of shit and is the perfect, you know, provider for me in the long term. They're looking for that guy. But what happens is that when that guy comes around, he gets pissed off because he's not getting her sexual best. And this kind of ties back into that post I was talking about, saving the best. Saving the best was me just sort of breaking down this situation of this guy who married this woman. And these are his words. Okay. Married a woman who who has told him pretty much that she's not into sex. She's not as sexual. She has they might have quote unquote mismatched libidos, and that so basically the guy has accepted this as the truth about his wife and is trying to deal with that, and then finds like some old amateur porn of her.
Oh yeah, she was getting the gangbang, right?
Yeah, she was getting gangbangs or something like that. He had found, and this is great. He had found, I think this was old school, so he found like VHS tapes or some sort of physical recording of it, and he saw this, and he sees his wife having sex with like 2 or 3 other guys, and her wife, I was so wild in my college days, sees this, and then wonders why he's not getting his wife's sexual best. And this is a common thing that guys who are in that blue pill phase, who are in that they get caught in the epiphany phase. They become like the perfect foil for that epiphany phase, and they believe that.
Okay, okay. I gotta ask you a question. Because what is the actionable step now? Because a lot of guys would be like, okay, that's great, I understand it. How do we respond to that? Like, how do we move forward now that we know that?
Well, I got something to jump in here with, and I think
go ahead.
Go ahead. Really good bounce. So what Pat Stedman's doing is he's blaming, like, women today are like with the Sandbergian plan and all that shit, and the way women act on Instagram and in life. You have like 80% of women acting loosely, approximately speaking, 80% of women acting in a certain way that is new for them to act in this way at this level in society, this open. But Pat is trying to pin their behavior on like a minority of men. So you have less than 20% of men today being alphas doing this stuff. It's probably closer to 10% today. The way it's probably smaller than it's ever been. So you have a huge majority of women acting in a certain way. And the first thing this guy does is absurdly put it on a very small minority of men. So he's trying to control our behavior. So to me, it's not just blue pill bullshit. Mm-hmm. It's like delusional from a statistics perspective.
It's basically feminism.
It's apologetics is what it is.
Not only that, here's the thing, man. Women are going to be what they are. And a lot of guys, they find out that, because I fucked a lot of wives and girlfriends, and of course you get a bunch of heat. Well, you shouldn't be fucking wives and girlfriends. That goes back to that morality. Look, dude, look.
Well, half the time they don't even tell you, right?
Exactly, right? These are just the ones that I know. But if a girl wants to cheat, she's going to cheat. If you don't, listen, you can be a moral player all you want to. And by the way, that's a bit of an oxymoron, right? Like freezer burn, solar-powered flashlight, waterproof mop, and all those other kind of jokes. There's no such thing as a moralistic player. All's fair in love and war. But if you don't fuck that wife, someone else will. Right? So so you can try to take the moral high ground all you want to. There are plenty of guys out here like me who don't give a fuck about morals. And to guys like Pat and to guys like Pat Stedman who want to say, well, you guys are out here, ruining these girls. No. We're simply taking advantage of what's available to us. If women weren't out here fucking around and fucking 100 guys by the time they're 25 years old, it's almost like the car business. People ask so many times, why are cars so expensive? Automobiles are grossly overpriced. The reason they're grossly overpriced is because we continue to buy them. Car prices aren't going to go down unless we boycott them. You can say that really about any economy. If women weren't out here passing out pussy like it's Halloween candy, then nobody would be trick-or-treating. That's just how it goes. So if girls are going to be slutty, we're not going to say, well, you're being slutty, and even though I really want to fuck you, I'm going to take the moral high. No, we're men. We're designed to fuck. And if they're going to give it to us, we're going to take it. So is it a two-way street? I don't know. But if you want to change if you want to change male behavior, you got to change female behavior.
Yeah. Oh, I was going to say is that what he's doing is he's making a division line here. He's saying there are ethical players and there are unethical players, and there are quality women and there are non-quality women. So you're making these evaluative judgments. Okay. Now we can get into the morality and the amorality of what game is all about, but the fact of the matter is that whether or when I read this, it's indicative of a complete ignorance of the game, of sexual strategies of both sexes. Okay. And so to say that a guy is ethical or unethical in ruining a woman, first of all, the guys who say this are usually dudes who are locked in with a girlfriend or a wife, usually around the epiphany phase, who is not as sexual with them as before. And the reason she's saying that, her most women, when they get there, if they've been partying and having fun with the alpha bad boys for a long time, and they have to transition over into trying to force themselves to be attractive and attracted to and hot for a more beta guy after they've been with the alpha bad boys, what they're going to say is, because they don't want to give, you know, their sexual best to that beta guy, is they're going to say, I'm damaged. I was damaged by those alpha guys in my sexual past. And that was another part I wanted to get into here today too, is like dealing with a woman's sexual past. But what you're going to end up dealing with, these guys, the Pat Stedmans of the world, are they believe this. They think that there's a qualitative difference because they've been told by women that they are damaged, or they are less sexual, or they have mismatched libidos, or they don't want to be as sexual with their long-term partner because of the bad boys in their past that they're still really kind of pining for. They're alpha widows for those guys. And so those dudes don't know how to deal with that. I've dealt with so many guys who have gone through exactly this. That's why I wrote Betas in Waiting. It's these guys who wait their entire lives for their ship to come in. And finally, when that girl decides to be, you know, the girl of their dream girl decides that she wants to settle down and have a family with them, she's ruined for him because she's already had sex with those guys. You know, we were talking about what, you know, how many partners is too many, you know?
Well, let's deal with that question. Hang on, Donovan. How do you know you're getting her best? I mean, let's put that to the panel, because that's the question that I know guys want.
That's a good question
right now is, how do you know you're actually getting her best? Did she give her best away to somebody else, or are you getting it? Like, how do you actually know that?
Here's the deal, man. And before you answer, how do you know you're getting her best? You have to ask there's sort of a preamble to that. Is, are you getting her best? Well, it depends. Were you her first choice, right? So anytime you start fucking a girl, you always have to assume she's fucking other dudes. This is just, you know, game Red Pill 101. Women don't really want to be fucking a bunch of guys. They want to be fucking one guy. But the reason they're fucking a bunch of guys is because society tells them to, feminism tells them to, they have to keep their options open. But girls don't want to be fucking 5, 6, and 7 different dudes. They want to be fucking one of those dudes. You know that you are her first choice if she is, like, the first thing you'll know is if she's always available. If you call her to come over, she's there. She doesn't flake. She doesn't give you excuses. She always responds to your texts very quickly. The texts are always enthusiastic, and she responds within a few seconds. None of this 20-minute stuff to sort of play it off. If you're her first choice, she doesn't play games. She isn't vague. If she has plans, okay, she will inconvenience herself to see you, right? So basically, if you are plan A, you will know it. If you're plan, let's say you're plan B, C, or even D, right? Her texts are going to be sporadic. They're not always going to be enthusiastic, sometimes even days apart. She's not going to pick up the phone when you call her. She'll cancel meetups, not all of them, but she cancels enough to let you know that she's fucking someone else. Now, another way you can tell that you're her first choice is, just like Rollo says, is sex, right? A girl will give you, like let's say a girl is fucking 4 different dudes. She's not blowing all 4 of those dudes, right? She might be blowing 2 of them because one of them really likes it, but the other one she really wants to be with. She gives you her mouth. She gives you her ass, right? Again, they fuck a bunch of dudes to keep that abundance mentality, even though they don't really have to. They're women. But again, the one she's fucking the most, the one she's giving her best sex to, that's the one she wants to be with. So before you answer the question, hey, how do I know I'm getting her best? The question you have to ask yourself is, are you her first choice? And if you're her first choice, it's pretty obvious. I actually did an episode on this called Are You Her First Choice? You guys can check that out on donovansharp.com.
Yeah, there was a segment that Chris Rock did on why your woman's pissed off at you. And the answer to that was because you're not her first choice. And the audience burst into fucking laughter.
Yes.
Because it's mostly true, right? You know, there's probably women sitting there laughing their asses off going, yep, that shit's true. This is funny.